Time now for our Life and Info segment, where we focus on information useful for your everyday life. Today, we're going to talk about the mini heat wave we are enduring in South Korea at the moment and how it can make you ill, sick, if you're overexposed to the heat. We have our health reporter, Choi Si-young, in the studio to tell us more. So, Si-young, let's start by talking about the definition of a heat wave in South Korea. Different countries have their own threshold for what they consider to be a heat wave. What is that in South Korea?
Well, Mark, according to South Korea's weather agency, a heat wave refers to when the daily high is 33 degrees Celsius or above. When the heat wave is expected for 2 days in a row, the weather agency issues heat wave advisories. Now, but when the temperature reaches 35 degrees or Celsius, or above and remain there for the same period, then heat wave warnings are issued.
Okay, so we have the advisories, which are the lesser of the two, and then the warnings when it does get extremely hot. But you mentioned advisories, and I seem to remember reporting that we had in South Korea, our heat wave advisory was actually issued in May, and that is one of the earliest ever recorded here in South Korea, right?
Well, that's right, Mark. Since 2008, South Korea's weather agency began to issue heat wave advisories, and most of them came into effect in June. But starting in 2014, the month of May also saw days when heat wave advisories were announced. Now, that trend continued until 2017. In 2018, the hottest year on record here in South Korea, the first heat wave advisories came into effect on June 1st. Now, for the first time in 11 years, heat wave advisories were issued in the southwestern city of Gwangju on May 15th. That's the earliest day of the year on record. Locals who recall last year's sizzling heat are wondering if we could see an even hotter summer this time around. However, some experts say the early heat wave doesn't necessarily mean it'll be hotter this year. Nor are we going to see a more prolonged heat wave this year. Let's take a listen to some experts.
Full-scale summer heat starts after the monsoon front settles in, so any heat wave before the arrival of the front in May, for instance, can't really be an indicator of how hot it's going to be in the summer. Unlike last year when the rain front left early in July, the rain front will leave near the end of July this year, so the summer heat will start late and will not be as bad as the one we saw last year.
Okay, well, that's good to know, because last summer was awfully hot, and even with the aircon running at full blast, it still was incredibly hot and sticky in most apartments. Now, turning to heat-related illnesses, because you have to be extremely careful when the mercury is high. What kind of ailments can we suffer from due to prolonged exposure to intense heat?
Well, the heat waves affect both your physical and mental conditions. But first, let's see how it can harm your body physically. Let's take a look at the picture. Heat exhaustion is a direct result of the body overheating and is identifiable by the following symptoms. Staying hydrated is the key to lessen the severity. Be warned that if this illness goes unaddressed, heat stroke follows, a much more serious condition. Heat stroke requires emergency treatment.
Loss of consciousness and multiple organ failure occur during heat stroke and can lead to death. The most important thing to do is to drop the body's core temperature.
Okay, that's good to know how serious heat stroke is, because a lot of people underestimate how dangerous it can be if you have a heat stroke. So don't stay out in the day. Don't stay out in the sun all day, especially in Korea, which is a hot country during the months of July and August. What about mental conditions? Give us some example of some heat-related illnesses that have more to do with our mental health.
Well, the experts that I talked to also said the heat waves also affect your mental conditions, most notably anxiety and depression. Now, let's again turn to our experts.
Heat wave causes sweating and dizziness that can bring on anxiety. The high temperatures raise stress levels and lower the capability to cope with it, inviting depression.
And health professionals say you can't really tell whether your anxiety or depression is the result of the hot weather. So please consult with a doctor if you're worried about your mental health, because these conditions can be mitigated. And again, staying hydrated and cool is key to prevent these illnesses.
Okay, wonderful to know, Si-young. We appreciate your reporting today ahead of what's likely to be a hot summer here in South Korea.
Yes.
Thank you for coming in today.
My pleasure.